Hi, I'm Luke Scherveld. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Gaffer. Today I'm here with DP John Behrens, and we're going to play with the 600X. But while we're at it, we're going to compare it to some of the other units that have come before it, like the 600D, the 300X, and the 300D. They all have different specs, but we'd like to see where they kind of play in just, our playing on a set. We've got our meters. How does it measure up, literally?
A lot of times you're mixing sources, and so you want to make sure it's like we have 5 different lights that are 5 different color temperatures. So we're sort of trying to figure out today, how do you make them all balance out? Can you trust the number that's on the ballast?
We're not going to change the cameras, so we're shooting on a GH5, GH5S, and we're not going to change that f-stop. So this kind of gives you an idea. This is the 300X at 100% at daylight balance, and let's start there, and then we'll compare that with other units. So this is sort of our, we might say, our unit with the least amount of output.
The low end.
Yeah.
Low end of the illumination spectrum. I should use spectrum carefully. The low end of the brightness.
Yeah. Okay, so here I've got 84 at 10 feet, 84 foot candles, and that's in its daylight configuration. And let's see where we've got.
All 4 lamps are focused with the hot spot from the intensifier right in this zone.
Okay, so there we have 5600. So let's see what it says on the control box. Okay, so the control box says 6000. So with this particular unit, this particular meter, we're getting 5600 on the meter when the unit says 6000. If we go to 5600,
5282.
so in the 5300 range. So it's about 300 off. Now what we found earlier when we went down to tungsten, 2700 on the low end, then, or was that on 600?
That was, I think that was on the 600.
Okay, well, let's check this one.
Yeah.
So here we'll go, okay, so there's 2700.
And that is 2700.
Boom. And then we'll go to 4200. Okay.
And that is 4000, essentially.
Okay. So
200 Kelvin off at that, at the middle.
Right.
The middle range, when both the daylight and the tungsten should sort of be equal.
yeah.
We're about 200 off, Kelvin-wise.
Okay.
On the 300X.
And then when we go to 48.
Okay. 4560.
Yeah. Okay. So as you come up the range, you fall behind a little bit more.
And we gain brightness. We're at 110 foot candles. So which we should be essentially, right? Because you've got more elements, more emitters.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So it does bump up in the middle a little bit when you're using both.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want, better data, watch Andrew Locke's video. Now let's turn this off and compare this just in output. Let me just go to the peak again. So 6000
gets you 5660.
Okay. And here we've got, now I'm getting 90.
Back down to 90. Back down to 90 foot candles. So 5648. And is that topped out? No, that's 5600.
You can go further. So that'd be 6500.
Okay, 6500 reads at 6100. So 400 off at the bluest end.
At the bluest end. All right.
And 84 foot candles. So we drop down almost 25 foot candles, or is that right? No, 15 foot candles.
15, yeah. So here we're at 90 at 6,000 gives us 56. Okay, so now let's turn on the 300D, because that it should be in the 5600 range, right? Because it's daylight. And let's see where it is.
All right.
That goes off, this comes on.
Okay, and that is reading 200-foot candles right out of the door. And we are getting 5280.
5280. Okay, so that's like 5300, which, if I recall, is closer to where the X is when it's at 5600 on the ballast. So
that chip is warm. It's a little bit warmer than.
So this daylight chip is on the warm side, but you can get it together with your. And we haven't even talked about green magenta, but I think for the most part, it's not really
pretty straight across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we're just looking at full output of the 300D, similar. So 5300. Okay, so that's where you'd be on the 300X if you were at 5600 as well. So that's interesting. Okay, now we have that in our head. So it's about twice the output. The D, which makes sense.
Yep.
And so now let's see where the D lines up with the 600X.
Great.
So the 300D with the 600X. All right.
Which essentially, if we're looking at math, should be the same, right?
Yeah.
So if we take a reading, 300-foot candles.
300. And we were 200.
So we gained 100-foot candles.
So we got 100-foot candles. Okay, so that's nice. So
that's
because
great.
we were basically 8490, and then we went to 200, and now we got 300. So the 600 gives you another 100 in another half stop.
Yeah.
And then
that's impressive.
On daylight. And here I've got basically 5600. So what does it say here? All right, so on the control box of the 600X, I've got 5900 Kelvin. That gives us 5600.
At the meter.
So if we go back to 5600 on the control box,
we are now 5300 at the meter.
Which is very similar to the
other
X,
300X was.
So knowing that, and knowing that you can crank it and get to where you want, if you have other units that are closer to 5600 or you want to be there, you can do that. Whereas with the 300D, you don't have that option. You have to put some gel on it. Perish the thought and treat it like an HMI.
That's right, right? Rattle, rattle, rattle.
Okay, so, and did we change anything with our output? No, 300.
300, yep.
All right, so now let's see where we are on the low end. See if it's similar. I'm sorry, not the low end, but
the tungsten end.
Yes.
And your ballast says
2700.
And this is actually lower, 2673, 2700.
Yeah, 2700. Okay, so, and then where are we output wise? 170.
170. Oh, it drops way down.
Yeah, so that's
which makes sense because in the tungsten world, you're going to probably have lower output. And that makes sense because the chips are probably manufactured to spec with 2700 as a target, so they probably know that at the point of manufacturing and measured them, so that number makes sense. It would be accurate. What's your number now?
So now 4200
gets us 44,000. Which is exactly where we were on the 300X.
Yeah. At 4200, we've got 250 foot candles.
So we came back up from the pure tungsten.
Pure tungsten, but not as much as pure daylight. So, however, you would think that the fusing of the
would be the high end.
Items would be higher, yeah.
But maybe that's an adjustment they made in the between the 300 and the 600, and there's not an equal amount of daylight emitters to tungsten emitters.
Right.
All right, what's your ballast
This is
reading?
5600.
5600 on the ballast gets you 5300 at the meter.
Which is similar.
300 off.
And 300.
Okay.
Yeah. Now let's go full blue on the 600X. So that's 6,500 on the control box.
Gets us 6,100 at the meter.
Okay.
400 lower than.
And here we're still at 270.
All right, so
Yep.
sort of around 5,600 is its brightest setting, and most often these days I use 5,600. I'm in that 5,600 range
Yep.
for 80% of my shoots.
Just kind of nice to be able to warm it a bit.
Warm it just
Yep.
a bit.
Yep.
So I do love the ability to be able to do that so often, and I used to do it with gel. So
Right. And not only do you have full dimming, but now you have some color change, and it's certainly a bonus given your, whatever your, if you're using any kind of units that are already on in a space.
And I've been in situations where we go to night and not a lot of time to switch a fixture out. And I'm like, okay, to be able to say my key is now tungsten without having to switch out the head that's a pretty powerful difference.
Yep.
So I can absolutely see I could use it in full tungsten.
And I find that often with the 600D, there's so much output there that I'm riding it really low, like sometimes crazy, like under 1%. I mean, it's just nuts. Seems like there's enough output there.
Yeah.
And now let's compare this sort of bright end to the 600D daylight.
Great. So from 250 foot candles on the X to 500 foot candles. So double the brightness. And double the brightness at 5,800. All right, so pretty close.
Yeah.
Just about 150 Kelvin warmer native than the X at 100%, but it's double the brightness.
The brightness, yeah. Which, again, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
You just get, I mean, that's a boatload of
Yeah,
light.
yeah. I'm not going to even look towards the source.
Which is really nice if you're putting it through something soft and just having that opportunity to put it through a magic cloth, put it into a lantern or
like I've done through a Fresnel lens, and I was amazed what I was able to do with daylight on one side and 600X through a Fresnel lens on the other. I was very impressed. Looked wonderful.
Yeah. When you want that output, boy, do you want that output.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's all those things that you weigh, then you weigh, how many units can you get in your vehicle, or if you're on the road, do you need that flexibility? There's like all sorts of things to weigh, and then when people say, but what should I buy? And you're like, buy them all. No, and it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my interest in the 600X was I need a travel road kit for documentary work, where I have the fewest number of cases and the most flexibility. And so that would be a reason I would choose the 600X. If I have a truck and I'm working with you, of course I would love to have a 600D because I want that output.
Right.
And just, I did a shoot with two 600Ds into a source, and I would have used probably either an M18 or an M40 previously to do that same thing.
Yep.
So really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the tools they just keep coming out.
Yeah.
And we keep, doing the same sorts of things, but now we have a little more flexibility.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
And just to have an HMI that you can dim for starters, or have on a cue, it's great.
Yeah. I would love to see Aputure do a little firmware upgrade where they got the numbers on the ballast to match the output of the lamp. Seems like that could be fairly doable just with a little bit of time spent. Because the lamp is capable of doing the whole range of colors.
Right.
The ballast can do it. The actual output and the quality of light is there.
Yep.
It's just a measurement thing.
Yeah. In very broad strokes, this is a snapshot of the measurements we just did. Now, here's a mini episode within an episode where I got to use the 600X for the first time. Today we're playing with a new toy, and that's a 600X with a 150 millimeter dome. We've got two 600Ds with regular domes, and then as a fill light, we've got the 600X. So let's go to the other side. Got our basic shot here, and as you can see, the two domes are not really aimed at our subjects. We've aimed them up a little bit, keep them out of shot, and also it's a way to not provide too harsh a backlight for the person that is closer to the dome. And then back here, we're using the 600X as a nice little front fill. In the background, you can see there's two 1x1 Astras that are blooming on the wall there. And then on the left, we've got a Daylight HD on the floor for a little accent. And then behind this person, there used to be a painting there that wasn't there for this shoot, so we added a painting off the wall. We gave it some interest just to make it cuttable. And some stuff in the background as well, but that's more similar to the background here. And we went with these stronger units, with these 600s, because we had that daylight to deal with. And if the sun broke, we just needed to be ready for it. Yep, it worked. I hope you found some of that helpful. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. I know we didn't take the time to explore all the features available in the control box, but we did at least measure the relative output and tunable white so that you can compare the 600X to units that are already out there.